Kofi rejected his 3 newborn daughters, said they were bad luck, that girls were useless, that they couldn't carry his name or protect his legacy. For years, Kofi prayed for a child, and when his wife finally gave birth to not 1 but 3 beautiful daughters, he didn't smile. He didn't hold them. He walked out of the hospital, heart cold, pride burning. To him, daughters meant failure. They'd marry, leave, and forget him. He wanted a son, an heir, not 3 girls he saw as weak. So he abandoned them, and the woman who loved him. But what Kofi didn't know was that the children he rejected would one day become the very ones he needed most. This isn't just a story about fatherhood. It's about pride, pain, and the powerful revenge of the forgotten. A test of love, loyalty, and what truly makes someone family. So sit tight, because what happens next will break your heart, shock your soul, and make you ask, who really gets to define a child's worth? In the small village of Alo, nestled between dusty roads and swaying palm trees, there lived a man named Kofi. He is not rich or poor, just comfortable. Kofi was a carpenter, a man of few words but many skills. His fingers carved wood like magic. Chairs, tables, cabinets, anything you could imagine, Kofi could shape it with patience and precision. The villagers trusted him, respected him. Not for his money, he had little, but for his character. Quiet strength, hard hands, honest heart. But even in that respect, there was a shadow that followed him every day. His mother, Mama Akua, an aging woman with sharp eyes and a sharper tongue. Every morning as Kofi sipped his cornmeal porridge and packed his tools, she would remind him with the same line, again and again like a song that refused to stop playing. Kofi, you must marry. A man without a child is like a drum with no skin, empty. He would nod, every time. But inside he was tired. Tired of the pressure. Tired of being the only son. Tired of feeling like a failed legacy because he hadn't found a wife. But as fate would have it, love was closer than he thought. He met Neka on a rainy Thursday. The skies had opened suddenly, and thunder danced through the air like angry spirits. Kofi was sheltering under the mango tree by the main road, clutching his toolbox, when she ran up beside him, drenched, breathless, and beautiful. "Do you mind if I stand here too?" she asked, panting. Her voice was soft, like velvet. He looked at her, nodded silently, and tried not to stare. But it was hard. She was something else. Her skin was like rich cocoa, her eyes deep, like she'd seen too much and yet still smiled. And despite the rain, she carried herself like a woman who had known better days. From that moment, their story began. It started with small talks under mango trees. Then it became walks to the market. Then laughter. Then sharing roasted plantains and stories. Then, finally, love. A home with laughter. When Kofi brought Neka home, Maame Akua didn't hide her suspicion. "She's not from this village," she said flatly. "What do we know about her family?" But when she saw the way Neka carried herself, polite, respectful, graceful, she softened. They married in a small ceremony behind the carpenter's shed. Nothing fancy. Just family, neighbors, and love in abundance. And for a while, life was sweet. Neka's laughter filled the house like music. She made their tiny home feel like a palace. Every corner held warmth. Every meal held care. And Kofi? He smiled more. Worked harder. Came home earlier. It was perfect. Until it wasn't. The first time it happened, they didn't know what to feel. Neka had been pregnant for 3 months. They'd already begun whispering names to each other at night. Boy or girl, they didn't care. They just wanted a child. Then one night, the cramps started. and by morning, blood. Kofi sat outside that day, eyes staring into nothing. His hands trembled. His tools lay untouched. Neka didn't speak for 3 days, but they moved on. Time passed. Hope returned. Then it happened again, and again, and again. 4 pregnancies, 4 miscarriages, 4 little hearts gone before they could say, Mama. The joy in their home dimmed, and the whispers in the village grew louder. Maybe she's cursed. Maybe Kofi married a barren woman. He needs another wife. And then one day, Mame Akua exploded. You are no woman. It was a morning like any other. Neka had made breakfast, but her hands were weak. Her face looked tired. The pain of loss still danced beneath her skin. Kofi's mother stood up, slammed her hand on the table and shouted, You are a witch! You are eating your children! You are a curse to this house! You are no woman! You are a man! Silence. Kofi froze. Neka's spoon fell to the floor. That night, she didn't eat. The next morning, she didn't speak. She stopped going outside. She became a shadow, a ghost of the vibrant woman Kofi married. But something else was born in her silence. Faith. Every Sunday, Neka began to walk. She didn't tell Kofi. She didn't ask for permission. She wrapped her shawl, tied her scarf, and walked to a small church perched on the hill just beyond Adamkrom. A quiet church, where the windows were broken, but the prayers were whole. There she knelt on the cold floor, not to complain, not to beg, but to surrender. Lord, she would whisper, tears rolling silently, if I am meant to be a mother, let it be. But if I am not, teach me how to carry joy anyway. She fasted. She prayed. She sang softly, even when her voice cracked. And slowly, her heart began to change. She found peace. She began smiling again, quietly. Not because things were perfect, but because something inside her refused to die. One day, after church, the old prophetess took her hands and said, You've wept for many nights, daughter, but joy is coming. Not 1, not 2, but 3 will rise from your womb, and their names shall wipe away your shame.
Happy Hi Bestie! If you enjoyed this story so far, don't forget to like and subscribe and comment where you are watching from. Enjoy!
Neka blinked. She didn't believe it. Not at first. But something stirred inside her, and 2 months later, her body stirred too. She felt the nausea first, the faint dizziness, the craving for pepper soup at dawn, and then her missed period. She didn't tell anyone, not even Mame Akua, who still eyed her like a snake hiding under leaves. Only Kofi knew. That night, when she whispered it in bed, he sat up, eyes wide. Again? He asked, hesitant. Should we hope? She took his hand and pressed it on her belly. Just walk with me. No questions. No fear. And for once he did. He didn't tell his mother. He didn't tell his friends. Instead, he walked Neka to the clinic 3 towns away, quietly, secretly. She lay on the hospital bed, and the nurse rubbed her stomach with cold jelly. The screen blinked, beeped. The doctor's face lit up. You are carrying triplets, he said with a smile. The silence in the room cracked. Neka gasped. Kofi stared. Triplets? He asked, voice trembling. 3? 3 babies? Yes, the doctor nodded. All strong, all alive. Neka wept. Kofi laughed, then cried. He kissed her hands over and over. On the ride home, he couldn't stop talking. There must be a boy among them, surely. At last, an heir. Someone to carry my name. Someone to inherit my land. But Neka didn't speak. She only prayed silently. Lord, keep them alive, boy or girl. Just let me hold them. The day the waters broke in, it happened on an ordinary morning. The sky was bright. Birds sang. Kofi had gone to the next village to fix a client's kitchen shelves. Neka was home folding baby clothes. Tiny socks, soft wrappers, bottles lined on the shelf like trophies of hope. Then, a sharp pain. Then a gush of water. Then another pain, stronger, deeper. She screamed. Maame Akua rushed in. For the first time in years, panic filled the old woman's eyes. "She's in labor!" she shouted. "Someone get a taxi! Get the nurse!" Before Neka could blink again, she was in the back seat of a rusted cab, biting her lip through the pain, gripping the seat with one hand and her belly with the other. "Hold on," the driver kept saying. "We're almost there." 3 cries in the night. It took 8 hours. 8 hours of groaning, of screaming, of pushing. 8 hours of blood, sweat, and fear. Then, finally, the cries. 1, then 2, then 3. 3 strong cries. The nurse wiped Neka's face, her hands trembling with relief. "You did it, madam. You brought them out. All of them." Neka tried to smile, but her strength was gone. The nurse turned to Mame Akua with joy and said, "Congratulations, Ma. She gave birth to 3 beautiful girls." Mommy froze. "Girls?" she repeated. Even in her exhaustion, Neka's heart sank. She had prayed for life, but would Kofi see it that way? When Kofi arrived at the hospital, his face was bright. He had bought baby powder, a small toy, even a little bracelet with the word Prince on it. He stepped into the room, expecting celebration. Then he heard the words. "Girls. All girls." Silence. He didn't move. Neka smiled weakly. "Come see them," she said, reaching for his hand. He took a step back, then another. His face changed. "3 girls?" he whispered. "No boy?" The nurse nodded. "All healthy. You're lucky. Triplets are rare and risky, but they made it." But Kofi didn't hear that. He turned and walked out, without holding his daughters, without kissing Neka's forehead, without saying a word. Just silence. And outside, the rain began to fall. The silence in their home was no longer peaceful. It was heavy, bitter, loud. Kofi stopped coming home early. He barely looked at the babies. When they cried, he left the room. When Neka tried to speak, he brushed her off. Mame Akua didn't help matters. She watched the girls like they were flies on a plate. 3 mouths, 3 burdens, she muttered one day. No heir among them. But Neka said nothing. She only watched. Her daughters, so tiny, so innocent, clung to her chest. They didn't know the world had rejected them, that their father had walked away before even knowing their names. At night, Neka stayed awake, nursing them one by one, singing songs her own mother once sang. "Child of the moon, child of the sky, Mama will carry you till you can fly." But with every verse, tears filled her eyes. The declaration. The girls turned one. There was no party, no cake, just a quiet evening and 3 giggling babies crawling around the compound. Neka prepared stew. She served Kofi his food. He didn't touch it. Instead, he cleared his throat and said something that shattered her world. "I'm taking a second wife." Neka froze. "What did you say?" "I've already spoken to her people. She will move in by month's end. I need a son." Her heart pounded. "But these are your children. They are yours, Kofi. They carry your blood." "Girls," he spat. 3 girls cannot carry my name. They can't inherit my land. I need someone who can." Then he looked her dead in the eye. "Pack your things. Leave my house. You and your daughters." Her spoon dropped to the floor. "Where do you expect me to go?" she whispered. "With 3 babies? That is not my concern." He walked out, and in that moment, Neka knew she had been replaced. She didn't beg again. She had begged before, after every miscarriage, after every insult. Not this time. That night, when the village slept and the moon lit the sky, she packed her things, a small bag of clothes, a wrapper, a picture from their wedding day, nothing more. She strapped the babies to her back and sighed with 2 old cloths. No taxi, no help. She walked, step by step, from Adamkram to the next village, then the next. People stared. Some offered food. Most just whispered. "That's Kofi's wife, the one with all the girls." But she walked anyway, until she reached her cousin's house in Abramkase, far away from shame and memory. There she started again. The house where love grew. In her cousin's house, a small one-room home with no electricity, Neka began to rebuild. She sold a kara by the roadside. She fetched water for neighbors. She braided hair under the mango tree. Whatever it took to feed her girls. They grew fast, strong, beautiful. She gave them names full of power and prophecy. Adaora, the daughter of all. Kioma, God's good gift. Ngozi, blessing. Every night she told them stories of lions and queens, of brave girls who climbed mountains, of women who rose from ashes. They believed her, and slowly, so did she. Karma in a crib. Back in Adumkram, Kofi's new wife gave birth to a son. The entire village rejoiced. Drums were beaten. Kofi danced in the street. "Finally, an heir!" he shouted. But the joy was short-lived. At 3 months, the boy began to cry endlessly. At 6 months, he couldn't hold his head. At 1 year, he had seizures. At 2, he stopped talking. At 3, he started fighting other children. At 4, he was arrested for stealing from the market. Kofi was everywhere. Police stations, hospitals, herbalists. Nothing worked. He sold his workshop, then his chairs, then his tools, then the land. Still, the boy only got worse. And one night, while alone, Kofi whispered, "This boy will be the death of me. I should have disowned him." But the wind carried his words into the darkness. Meanwhile, Adaora became a star student. She read books by lantern light, won spelling bees, and earned a scholarship to study medicine. Kioma, always quiet but fierce, became a lawyer. And Ngozi, bright, cheerful, full of laughter, became an engineer, building dreams from dust. The sisters stuck together, always. They didn't have much, but they had each other and their mother. One day, Ngozi asked, "Mama, who is our father?" Neka paused. "He was a man who once lost his way, but maybe one day he will find it again." The girls said nothing, but they remembered that answer. Years passed. Kofi, now an old man, walked with a limp and carried a plastic bag of medicine. His son had disappeared again. Maybe jail, maybe the streets. No one knew. No one cared. Kofi worked at a local sawmill now, lifting planks and cleaning floors. One day, while sweeping near the market, he collapsed. His head hit the cement. Blood. People gathered. No one helped. They said, "That's Kofi, the one who chased away his wife and daughters. Let him die." But someone called an ambulance anyway. He was taken to a hospital, weak, bleeding, alone. And fate, it seemed, was waiting for him there. The doctor who knew his name. Adaora was walking through the ward, reviewing her patients. Then she saw him, old, thin, bruised, unconscious. She stopped. Something about him pulled at her memory. She checked his file. Name: Kofi Manu. Age: 65. Her heart skipped. She sat by his bed, watched him breathe. Later that day, when he opened his eyes, he looked at her and smiled weakly. "You look like someone I used to know," he said. She didn't speak. He looked away. "I once had daughters, beautiful girls, but I threw them away. I thought only boys mattered. I was a fool." Adaora froze. She called her mother. "Mama, there is a man here. His name is Kofi. He said something. It sounds like our story." When Nneka picked up the phone, she didn't expect her past to speak. She had just finished watering her small garden, the scent of mint and tomatoes still on her hands, when Adaora's voice trembled through the line. "Mama, there's a man here, an old man. His name is Kofi." Nneka's breath caught. "He said he once had daughters, that he threw them away. He's sick, Mama. He's broken." The phone slipped from her fingers and hit the floor. The world seemed to tilt. She hadn't heard that name in over 20 years. She whispered to no one in particular, "Kofi," and she ran. She didn't even change her wrapper. She didn't take her bag, just her keys and her heart. When Nneka entered the hospital, nurses stared. Her wrapper flapped as she walked, sandals clapping the floor with every determined step. She passed the front desk, ignored the stairs. Her daughter met her by the hallway, eyes wide, voice shaky. "It's him, Mama." Nneka walked past her, slowly, carefully, as if the years would collapse if she moved too fast. And there he was, lying on the bed. Older, smaller, fragile. His eyes fluttered, and then they met hers. They widened. His lips trembled. "Nneka?" She said nothing. He sat up weakly, tears already welling. "Nneka, But his voice broke. He fell to his knees from the bed, crawling, sobbing like a child. "Forgive me. I was blind. I was proud. I let my name become more important than my heart. I threw away diamonds, searching for dust." Nneka stood tall. She was older now. Wrinkles of wisdom lined her eyes. Her hands were calloused from labor, but her voice? Steady, strong. "You didn't throw away diamonds, Kofi. You buried seeds, and they grew without you." He covered his face and wept. She stood for a moment, then walked over and placed her hand gently on his shoulder. One by one they entered. Adaora first, then Kioma, then Ngozi. He turned and saw them. Time slowed. He saw in their faces his own eyes, Nneka's grace, and something else, light. He fell again. "My daughters, I am sorry. I failed you before you even had a chance to fail me." They didn't speak. He cried harder. "I was wrong. I thought you couldn't carry my name, but you carried it further than I ever could. I thought only sons mattered, but I see now. I was the one who didn't matter." Adaora knelt beside him and said, "We don't need your apology to succeed, Papa, but we needed it to heal." Then Kioma knelt too, then Ngozi, and all of them embraced the man who once couldn't hold them. He wept.
Hi bestie, kunyafu hivi kumeshawa uruan. If you enjoyed this story so far, don't forget to like and subscribe for part 2. Comment where you are watching from and I will reply with my favorite emoji. Thank you.